Morning, everyone. This is Felix Garcia, aka the Finance Pastor, and what an honor and a privilege it is to be welcomed into your homes this morning. It is Thursday, and what a week in the stock market it has been. The stock market really picking up from the lows of Friday and just been building in the last few days. Today, the futures pre-market are really high and up. Could this signal another update for the stock market? But who knows? One of the news that is affecting the stock market, we see a lot of the major market cap, the big cap companies that are really driving this market forward. President Trump announced last night that he will give reciprocal tariffs for other countries, and also he said he was going to add a 100% tariff on any of the semiconductors building their chips overseas, sparking a lot of manufacturing questions from many people that are saying, this is going to hurt the industry. And what I've been saying along for many, many months and the last couple of years is that Trump is bringing back manufacturing jobs in the United States. He's using the power of momentum. These companies have the power of business coming in, they have orders. Now he's forcing their hand by throwing another wrench into the pile, which is having many of those companies like your Apples, your Teslas, your Taiwan Semiconductor, your Nvidias, your AMDs, and a lot of these chip making companies bring a lot of their manufacturing back into the United States. It would cost them double. What would it be? It would cost them double to build these chips outside because of the tariff. What that does is bring back jobs to American. And I get this kind of issue with many people thinking that what are they going to open more manufacturing jobs in the United States so we could make $14 an hour? And the answer is no. Technology is moving. What we're going to be seeing is the robotic movement. A robotic movement where more people are going to be working in the technology side with data, like really like using these robots and stuff like that. So think of what Henry Ford one time said when he was first building the mass production line, which is, why should I pay people when I only need their arms and hands, when I need their hands and that's all I need? So that's what you're going to be seeing robots as, just is arms, just fixing and putting stuff together. And a lot of us who grew up watching the Jetsons as kids, what we're starting to actually see is things that we were thought were cartoonish in nature, but actually being a reality. Where we're going to see a lot of the technology, even the flying cars. I think in 10, 20 years, that might be a thing. But I also look at the self-driving car. That is something that is here now. And we're going to see that probably in 10, 20 years when I'm in my 60s, that you start seeing that a lot of the stuff that we thought was a possibility is actually reality. And we're seeing a lot of those things right now. The stock market is poised to go up momentarily. It is still not even 6 o'clock in the morning yet, but the market has been high in the futures, really a lot of movement. The cues are up. Nvidia made some overnight moves to the positive side. We're seeing a lot of good movements. AMD is seems to, you have a lot of retail traders that probably have been buying the dip, and that's what we're seeing a lot of. We're seeing a lot of retail traders really buying dips and just moving the stock market forward. But you have to look at what Donald Trump is doing and the policy that's coming in from the United States. So that's a key cog in what's happening and how to maybe protect your portfolio or add more stocks to your portfolio. We're in a season now that I believe that we're almost just like the story of Genesis chapter 40, 42, 43-ish, when we talked about Joseph and Pharaoh, how God gave Pharaoh the vision of 7 years of plenty, 7 years of lack, and how Joseph, the young Jewish boy, was able to interpret and tell Pharaoh what God said, which is, during the 7 years of plenty, store 1/5 of the grain and the wheat, so that during the 7 years of famine, it says Egypt will not be forgotten. And one of the things that you look at is we're in a season, in my opinion, where we should be gathering up, bringing into the storehouse instead of buying dumb stuff. Over the next few years, I believe America is going into a season of up movement. We're actually, I believe that we're replicating the roaring 20s from the 1920s. We're seeing that the roaring 20s, if you do the history, a lot of the movement was towards the latter half of the 20s. And we're seeing right now is that we're going to have a big boom. Also, I believe that you start preparing for the crash that'll happen after the boom, and that's what I believe that will happen. The market crashed in 1929. We're in a 100-year anniversary of the Roaring Twenties. History tends to repeat itself. I'm not saying thus saith the Lord. What I'm saying is we have to look at history, and history tends to repeat itself. And that's what we look at. We work in cycles, and I serve a God that operates in cycles. You have spring, summer, fall, and winter. We operate with a God that works in cycles. So you look at what's happening in the financial arena and what your investments should go, and where you see the money in Washington, where the money is going in the money in Washington, that's where your investment should flow. What we're seeing is like we're starting to see many companies like your Nvidia, your Apples, all these companies are really taking off. Apple just announced that they're investing another $100 billion company, $100 billion into the United States on top of the $500 billion they've already committed. This is going to happen over the next 4 years where they're building more products and services in the US. There will be a thing called Made in the US again. We're going to be seeing products from the US now go export to other countries. Many people, since they've never seen that in their lifetime, they have a hard time seeing that. They just think of sweat factories, that's the only way you're going to get cheap stuff. That's not true. So one of the things that we're going to see in that American technology is going to drive the boom for labor. The American technology is going to drive the boom for labor, meaning robotics. Robotics is the future. So I believe that a lot of the young kids that you're studying now, you should be looking into what the next movement are. Uh, your traditional jobs will always be there. Your HVAC, your electrician, your plumber. Those are all three things that will always be there. Many people don't understand this, but if it wasn't for plumbing or plumbers, we would be a third world nation. Plumbing is very important. So HVAC, electrician, plumbing are going to be three cogs. Construction, any type of special skill like masonry, those are always going to be in demand. But what you're going to start seeing a boom is in technology. Schools like Georgia Tech, a lot of these tech schools that are really focused on moving the needle forward. You got Eastman, you got so many great schools, technology just all over the United States that are really the young people are really moving the needle forward of technology. And if you're a young person right now, you got to look at the jobs of the future, these sociology degrees, these like I got a church music degree. What can I do with that? It's not much I could do. You go to school to get degrees that you can't do nothing with. You should look at parents. You should tell your kids to go into fields that actually are going to be jobs for them. Technology, Nvidia, chip making, all those. That's going to be the next thing. Technology is going to be the next cog for all you young people. Get in the wave right now. So let's start looking at certain stocks and certain things that have affected the stock market. I'm going to share my screen. Let me just look at, I want to look at a few charts so we get started. There we go. So here are, we're looking at, one of the first things we're looking at is at Darden Foods, of some of your favorite foods in America, your Outbacks, a lot of them fall into here. This stock I was looking at, it is looking very good. It's had this consolidation. If you see this run up, and then it just seemed to just falter down and just hit this support area. It seems like there's a lot of people that are wanting to buy in this area, in this vicinity. So this to me is like a supply zone. So what I'm looking at is DRY is actually moving towards the upside. It seems like to follow the patterns. If this stock continues this same pattern, I'm looking at a price target of around 230. It's currently at the 205. It's up pre-market 91 cents. But this is one of those companies that I'm looking long term. People are going out to eat. People are spending money. These are the restaurants that fit into those categories. A lot of the chain restaurants that you and I go to. I'm looking at this one, DRY. It's a price target of 230, so we're looking at that one right now. Let's look at the S&P. What it finished yesterday. S&P finished pretty strong. It's trying to battle up here. We've seen it's trying to make a nice little move to the upside. But let's see what it does, because right here we have just consolidation, just some consolidation right here. Would it do anything? I don't know. Let me see. You're looking at on this blue area right here, we've seen some consolidation. It seems to bounce off from here. So if the S&P right now pre-market is up, if this is another bullish day, if barring any news, because even though sometimes some of the stuff that Trump says really affects the news in the bad way. Many people were believing when he was announcing the 100% tariff that it was going to go down, but actually it's kind of leveled out the playing field over here. Let's look at the Nasdaq. It almost looks like the same chart. Almost looks like the same chart, following the same patterns. Nasdaq already up strong in the futures market. I'm believing that if it continues, it'll be another up day. Right now, I'll look at the cues in a little bit, but it's been just moving up. Dow Jones, again, I've been talking about this stock here. The Dow Jones has been late to the party. The S&P and the Nasdaq have been crushing it, and the Dow Jones lately has been late to the party. A lot of consolidation. We're finding a lot of like headwinds in that 44,200 mark. But this is the one thing I look at. If it could stay above this, it could bounce from here. But then again, is a lot of headwinds in the Dow Jones Industrial market. VIX currently down, not much here. Apple again up pre-market, actually up huge, up $6 pre-market. Again, announcing another $100 billion. Apple, I'm looking to add this one into my daughter's custodial uh, stocks. Uh, I was iffy on Apple for a couple of months, only because they just not innovating like they used to. If it wasn't, the only thing holding up is Apple is a lot of the stuff that Steve Jobs already done, your iTunes, all those software, that technology, that's the only thing making money. There's nothing really new. The iPhone is really losing market share to a lot of the newer phones, the Androids, even though I'm not an Android person. But Apple really, to me, is an American staple. Could it get its mojo back? I hope so, because this stock was at 250. I mean, let's see if we could go back there. I think this stock could go back there. So let's look at gold, unchanged, silver. Silver's up. Whoa, silver's up 40 cents overnight. I love silver. Like, I buy silver. I love silver. It's kind of one of my things. So 0.999, silver has really had a nice little run. So if you don't know about silver, you need to get some silver. So I have been on a tear. I love buying silver. It's in my safe. But like silver is something that I think you need to consider. It's just it's always been God's money. So that's what I like about it. It's always been God's money. So let's look at some other stock. QQQ. I'm in the Q's. Oh yeah, up another $4 5 4 bucks. That is pretty good. I'm in the option on this one. Uh, I made like 24 cents on my option yesterday. If this goes up another 24 cents, hey, I'm 50 cents on an option on the Q's. I'll take it all day long. I like that one. Q's again, just following the patterns right here. Jets, just kind of little consolidation with a lot of the American airlines troubles. Really, this ETF has gone down. The one of the things that's driving this one is Royal Caribbean. Delta has some good news. It's in this ETF, but like this is a good one. I like this one. It's a good stock. Okay, it's 2382. I talked about this early in the year. Royal Caribbean. Royal Caribbean continues to defy, it just continues to defy the markets. It's just a good stock right now. I was originally had a price target of 250 and this was around the 175 range and this was like in November. This stock has done a huge move in the last few months. Just look at that pattern. Just from here it just took off from 174 and this was around what I was talking about. This 174 just took off, just took off. Nvidia, I'm in this stock. It's in my portfolio. I love seeing the market move up almost $2. My price target on this one is 194 ish, in that vicinity. Oh, Nvidia again. It's the darling. You got to follow Nvidia. You got to follow the leaders right now. Amazon, up pre-market, up big yesterday. It needed it because it took a dive from the earnings. I would not be surprised. You see this big gap here? Amazon's going to fill that gap if it continues to go up. And that's if it continues to go up. See this big gap here is going to fill it up. So it's got another uh got another 8 points. So right now it's gonna have a small little up move, but it's got another 8 points before it could get to back to here. I think that 232 would be a realistic target from that 222 right now. So $10 move on a stock like that, 5% in a couple of days, not bad. AMD. So AMD is one of those that I've been saying that it's been in a downward pattern over the last few weeks, but it just broke out and it just took off. I mean, if you didn't get in here, I mean, you missed the move here. The drop here helped for those wanting to get back in, but this is a consolidation area right here. If this stock continues to go down, and that's a if, right now is up pre-market, I would see it going down to the 154 range just to test. But if it just bounces up from here, then you look at this strong 161 is really a strong support here. So you look at it, it really fell in a strong area. So that 160, it really fell there. So could this bounce off from there, which it seems like it has? And will it continue up? Even though Lisa Su has I like her as a CEO. I think she's very innovative. But there's some things that she's had some headwinds and cautions over a lot of the chips and delays overseas. So let's see what happens with the deliveries on that one. Ford, again, a steady Eddie stock. This is I have a covered call on this one. It should be expiring in about a week or so. I think it's about in 2 weeks. I'm on the 13. I sold a 13 option price on my Ford stock. So I love doing covered calls on Ford stock. Is a steady Eddie. And for stock that doesn't move, it just helps me make like another 15, that's 18% in a year from a stock that doesn't move, and that includes with the dividends. So this is a stock here. I'm looking for this one to expire, and then I'll do another covered call for the month of September on this one. SPY, following the S&P 500, just this nice V pattern, just connecting. Pre-market is up $4.76. It's kind of following the cues. Meta, let's go with Meta. I like Mark Zuckerberg. To me, I've said it time and time again. He is the sleeper in the AI movement. Mark Zuckerberg is the sleeper in the AI movement. Meta pre-market up. Oh, whoa, up another 7 points. So this one, another one. To me, this is a $1,000 stock. This stock is underpriced. I said this again. I've said this for several months. Meta is an underpriced stock. This stock should be at around $1,000. And if it does, I wouldn't be surprised if it did a reverse split. Diamonds, you're trying to get there. Russell 2000, again, consolidating for all my spread traders. Russell 2000 was driving up the market, but now it's just kind of like a laggard. But like you could find on the Russell 2000, one of the things I like is when they have a strong move to the upside or the downside, it's a great way to enter a a credit spread with this one. So one of the things I like about the Russell 2000 is the credit spread power. Tesla up $1.84. Again, it looks like it's consolidating pattern. I mean, this, if you look at it, I'm not saying this is it, but you start looking at little clues here. You look at that. You look at that. It almost seems like it's going into a wedge pattern, trying to break out. Could Tesla be in a wedge pattern? I don't know. It could be, but it could be just, hey, it's a chart move here. So Tesla, I'm looking for it to break out. If break out, of course, of the upside. Palantir, this one has been crushing it. This is also in my portfolio. My dollar cost average for this stock is 122. So it's at 180. So I'm well ahead. This has been one of my best plays of the year. That Tesla, even with the Tesla downturn, my dollar cost average was just in the hundreds. So like you look at this one, Palantir is good. It's just like everything else. I wish I had more stock in it. One of those things, but I'm happy with what I do have. Will this continue to go up? I believe so. This is the stock about Palantir that many people, I will say that many people might not like. The Bible talks about that there will be wars and rumors of wars. Some people take that and hide and be fearful. To me, that's God telling me invest in defense contractors, invest in Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, Booz Allen. The list goes on and on. Boeing. You start looking at all these other companies that really help the defense industry. There will always be war. We're selling our military equipment to other countries. That's why I am big in Palantir. There's other good military companies, but there's only so much diversification you can do in a portfolio. You got to pick one or two. This is one that I like. It has a contract with the United States. That's what I'm looking at. This one. This one is really one of those that it behooves you to start learning to invest in these things. I'm not afraid of what the future holds because God's already told me what happens at the end of the book. And but one of the things is that the Bible gives you clues on what to invest in. God said this was going to happen. Rumors of war. Well, invest in defense contracting company. That's why I think the same thing with crypto. God said we will go to a one world order. He said it. Financial, we will go to a one world system. To me, that's crypto. That's the financial, the banking industry. We will go into one of those. So that's God giving me a warning. It's like God telling me, just like he did to Pharaoh, warned him about the coming 7 years of famine, 7 years of plenty. That's what God is telling us. And if you look at scripture, it tells you how to invest because it tells you what's going to happen. And that's what I love about this one. So Palantir is on deck. Let's look at the Nasdaq futures. up. I love that. Keep going up. Keep going up. E-mini futures up up big 48. Let's look at Coca-Cola's in my portfolio. It's above, all right, 69.52, so I'm positive so far. Coca-Cola is not a big mover, but what it is a steady eddy. Just steady eddy dividend stock, so it's in my portfolio. So what to expect today, we don't know. A lot of stuff is going to happen in the stock market, but there's many things that are affecting it. Let's look at some of the news that may affect the stock market. Trump reciprocal tariffs hitting dozens of UN trading partners. I like this. This is Trump saying, I made a promise to bring back jobs and manufacturing back to the United States. And all the gibberish of all the people that said, how's he going to do that? How's he going to do that? Are we going to bring back forced slave labor back into the United States? Yeah, that's what they say. We are bringing back manufacturing jobs in the form of robotics. And this is key indicator with what we're seeing with the projects that are happening in Abilene, Texas, or these Stargate projects. You have in Des Moines, Iowa, Facebook has data centers and so on and so forth. When you have Phoenix, you have doing all that. All those data centers are important. Share this screen. All those data centers are important. So we want to look at what other news driving the market. Let's look at Bloomberg. Uh, Russia says Putin Trump summit will take place within days. So this could be a good thing for peace. Russia and Trump, Putin and Trump really working out their differences. There's a lot of death happening in the Ukraine. This war should have never started. Let's go over, let's see, Yahoo Finance, any other news? Apple, again, we talked about that. Apple announcing the $100 billion US investment as part of the pledge. Apple committed to producing the cover glass for iPhones and Apple Watches in Kentucky. A big move for the South. This is one, the Taiwan semiconductor shares surge as Taiwan says firm exempt from Trump tariff. This is one of the keys why they're exempt. They have a manufacturing company in Phoenix. That's why they're exempt. So you're going to see a lot of companies that are already exempt because they already have manufacturing companies here. You have good American companies that don't even produce anything in here. Everything is overseas. Yeah, Apple is one of them. Everything they moved it to overseas. So Trump tariff splits Japan Incorporated as Toyota cuts forecast. I saw this in the Tokyo market, which is, a lot of these countries have been milking the United States for so long. They have been milking the United States and all our money, all our coffers, and they've been doing it for so long that we don't even recognize it, and they know that sweet little sugar daddy that was the United States is no longer. The world does no longer have a sugar daddy in the United States. So we look at what are other. DoorDash beats Q2 earnings. And that's another thing. DoorDash companies like Uber are really going to be high flying stocks. You look into that. Lyft stock tumbles, earnings miss. Lyft, I like Lyft. I use Lyft, but Lyft is not like Uber. Is not like Uber at all. Uber has more of a innovative technology. Lyft, you're still stuck unless Lyft joins the driverless car game. But again, they're behind, and their best bet is partnership with a company like a Waymo or Google to try to work together. Airbnb beats Q2 estimates. A lot of Airbnb people are doing well in certain areas. Some coastal areas are struggling, but that's pretty much all the news. Grok, I look at Grok, what some of the news this morning, labor statistics. but not much there. So let's go over here. So we are coming up on the opening of the bell in a few hours, but still that anything can happen in the next 3 hours before 9:30 happens. But as you go along in your investing journey, you're gonna be looking for opportunities to make those dreams become a reality. As you start looking and investing in the stock market, invest in what you love. Many people are telling what car you drive, what products you enjoy, what's in your home. What do you love? And if you're married, where do you and your spouse shop? Where do you love to eat? 5 out of 10 of those things that you love are from publicly traded companies. And or what about if God is giving you a gift where you understand an industry very well or a sector where you can just really bloom where you're planted. And that's one of the things that you never know where God has placed you, where you may understand an industry and you be shocked at what is publicly traded. You can tell me I work at a bakery. Well, you deal with the futures market. You deal with wheat, you deal with sugar, you deal with coffee, you deal with cocoa, you deal with all these raw products. That's something that you can invest and also trade in the stock market. We're looking for opportunities, and now we're coming in a season where the body of Christ is really taking a hold of their finances. I really truly believe that we're living in Genesis 42, 43, 44, 45, in those chapters. I believe that God is warning the church. We are on the 100th year anniversary of the Roaring Twenties, but also during that 100th anniversary is also the 100th anniversary of the stock market crash of 1929. We are coming up that that vicinity. What I tell people is, I'm not saying thus saith the Lord. I'm very careful with that. But what I am saying that history gives us clues, and history tends to repeat itself. I'm of the fashion and belief that during Trump's years, over the next few years that Trump is in office, you should be gathering and putting up stuff in your storehouse. You should be saving 1/5 or 20% of the stuff that you're making and put it over in a rainy day fund, in commodities, in gold or silver, in precious commodities. Silver, this is a real silver 0.999. These are the things that you want to invest in addition to stocks, in addition to real estate. You want to look at those three things: real estate, stock, and precious metals. That's always, because this is God's money. Gold and silver has always been mentioned in the Bible. And that's what I believe, that that's God's money. But you're also looking at how man has always tried to circumvent. That's why we live in a fiat currency. That's why our money's not really backed by gold anymore. We're really living off the petrodollar that was enacted by Henry Kissinger in the 80s. So what holds the value for the United States dollar, it's really oil. Whatever's exported by the OPEC nations really is what controls the dollar. Why is that important? OPEC made an agreement with the United States or Henry Kissinger that they will only accept payment in US dollars. That's the only thing that's holding the dollar up. Other than that, there's really not much value, only the confidence that people have in its leadership. Right now, many people have confidence in the leader that is Donald Trump. Donald Trump is is a businessman who's got the anointing of God, and he is an administrator where he is waving his magic wand and he is really making things happen. He's probably the only person or the only president that I can remember in my lifetime, at least, that has actually kept his promises. He's the only president that has kept his promises. And if he's the president that does that, you need to look and react on how to invest according to the policies that he's enacting along with Congress. You have to look at the Genius Act that was passed a couple of weeks ago. Look into cryptocurrency, stable coins. That is the future. When a president has been screwed over by the banking system, by your JP Morgans, your Bank of America, there's a little anger that is in there. There's a lot of people that have been manhandled by these banks, and there's certain people that are allowed to borrow money from these banks. And it's the good old boy system. And I believe that cryptocurrency is going to break that system, and you need to look at investing in cryptocurrency. So as we go along, you look at the investments, what's happening in the stock market. Look at ways where you can find opportunities to make your dreams become a reality. The stock market waits for no one. We are going into a big push. I don't know what you guys are waiting for, but you should need to start to invest. Look at just putting, even if you're putting 10% of your money into the stock. That's a start, 5%. Or even if you're taking $20 and buying a share, you can do it. So that's one of the things. Just start doing it. And as we keep going, just follow the channel, subscribe if you haven't yet. But we're just building up a team of army of people that are really going and really getting the cause of Christ. So we're looking for opportunities. So as you start looking, the stock market waits for no one. Invest. I'm in Coca-Cola, I'm in Ford, I'm in Nvidia, Palantir, QQQ, and I'm also looking to add into my portfolio. You're looking at companies like Amazon, you look at companies like BNMR. Those are good companies. Darden Foods and restaurants that we looked at earlier are really good things that you want to check out. So as you go along and as you start making moves in the stock market, I look forward to seeing your success, and may you have a wonderful day. Until next time.